Ladies and gentlemen, today on Edochie and his mysterious actions, we will be listening to the legal team of Edochie. They really have something to tell us. You will be listening to the lead uh, legal advisor of May. It is serious. Edochie has totally lost it all. Yes, he has to pay for his action. It is so sad. So sad. This update is necessary at this time, at this point. It is mandatory, in fact, that everyone listens to it so that we can be on the same page on what is going on. There are certain actions that should not come at all. You all know how it all started. We've said it times without number. Going into polygamy as a man comes with rules of engagement. And what is it? You'll get to find out. But Edochie went on social media, announced it there, declared his love for Judy and introduced a newborn baby. He did all of this on social media. And he rushed out to do this because a blog was about to expose this marriage, secretly done. Is it even marriage? Whatever. The thing is this. It took him a lot of months to have thought about what to do. If he had broken it down to May and done this in the presence of his family, like, hey, look, this is what's happening. This is what is happening. Then it would have been a different thing. Maybe it will not be this loud and full of disgrace. But this is not what you are really even going to hear. You are going to hear more deeper things, which is what I think Edochie should, if he has a second time or life, you will want to make use of this legal advice. I don't want to call it moral advice, but I want to prefer to put it under legal advice. There are certain things that a man should not do. Even if you have it inside of your mind or your thoughts, there are things that you should not even think of doing. It's very important. Do not forget to like and share. Do not forget to tap on the subscribe button. Turn on the notification bell. Thanks a lot. God bless the pockets of those that have tapped on the thanks button. If you also want to be a part of this, please do tap on the same button.
Of course, for somebody who either doesn't want to help women or someone that actually hate women, you will hear each time we talk about the rights of women, such a person will jump in and say, what about men? What about men? Women abuse men too. When you hear that, such reactions, it just tells you that you are dealing with an abuser, okay? In every scenario of discrimination in this world, or if you look at any particular category for discrimination, you will see a pattern. You will see a group that discriminates, and you see a group against which discrimination occurs the most. So that is something that you are going to get used to generally. And the abusers, that is the people in the stronger group, will always consider themselves also victims. For instance, if you look at racial discrimination in any of these Western world, it is known that the white people are more powerful and better positioned than the minorities. And as a result, that the minorities are likely to suffer racial discrimination than the white people. But you will notice that each time we talk about discrimination against racial discrimination, you will see a white person who will come and say that he too is a victim of discrimination. That was what happened when there was a movement that said the Black Lives Mattered. Black Lives Mattered. There were some few white people who went around claiming that white life, or they began to say all lives matter. All lives matter. Okay? So that sort of sentiment you see even when we discuss about domestic violence or inequality of the genders, we are going to see a man who will say, what about men? What about men? Men are victims too. Yes, occasionally men are victims, but we don't consider men the endangered group when it comes to gender discrimination. Men are not, or rather, domestic. When it comes to domestic violence, men are not the weaker party. So, having made that clarification, I take you back to the topic of my discussion today. And the topic is certain things or something you should never do to your wife. And one thing comes to mind based on cases we have received recently. Yesterday we got 2 cases of this type. In the first case, a man told his wife to go and stay with her mother. Go to your mother's house for the time being. They called various meetings. They asked the man, what did the woman do? He couldn't say anything tangible. He couldn't really say anything tangible that the woman did. They went to the church. They went to various counseling groups, various committees intervened. And at the end of it, the man was saying, she just has to go to her house, her mother's house. Let her go there and stay for a while. But she shouldn't go with the children. And the poor woman packed her bag. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? She packed her bag and said goodbye to her children and went to her mother's house. Of course, in her mother's house, she is now single. She's not married. Because cohabitation is an essential attribute of marriage. Cohabitation means living together. Husband and wife are supposed to cohabit. When you start living alone as a single woman, that means one of the tripods, one of the stands, the 3 stands of marriage, one of the 3 legs of marriage is knocked off. Cohabitation is an essential element of marriage. It's knocked off. Then the second leg of marriage is intimacy, sexual intimacy. Of course, when you start living with your mother, the second leg of the marriage is knocked off. So if your husband forces you to leave the house and go and live in your mother's house, he has ended the marriage by more than 50%. He has ended the marriage by 65%. Yes, 66 point something %. You should not, don't have any illusion. If you're a woman, don't have any illusion. If your husband tells you to pack and go to your mother's house against your will, the marriage is over. Some people will say I'm instigating women, but I'm not instigating anybody. I'm telling you the truth. There are 3 things needed in a marriage. There are absolute essentials of marriages. One is cohabitation. At least. One is cohabitation, meaning that you live together. Of course, your husband may go and transfer or travel. That doesn't mean that cohabitation is terminated. Okay? It is mutual. You separated upon agreement. Whenever you and your husband agree to separate, cohabitation continues to exist. We don't treat it as an end to cohabitation insofar as 2 of you agreed that he's traveling, maybe he's a soldier, he's on assignment, or maybe he's a diplomat and they posted him overseas. As long as you agreed for the separation to occur, that doesn't end cohabitation. But cohabitation is number 1. Number 2 is sexual intimacy. You must have the opportunity to live with your husband and share intimacy. Sexual intimacy doesn't necessarily mean sex, because a lot of you will think sex. Sexual intimacy, to cuddle each other, to kiss each other, to rub each other's back, to undress in his presence. For instance, if you share a bedroom with your husband, you will take off your clothes in his presence. He will take off his clothes in your presence. That is a form of sexual intimacy, because you wouldn't do it with anybody else. Only your husband you can do it with. So, That is number 2. And number 3 is what we call consortium. Consortium is, supporting each other, helping each other out. Helping each other out. You make coffee for him, he does something for you. Honey, lock that door for me. Honey, turn on that light for me. Honey, check this for me. Honey, do that for me. That's consortium. That is the 3rd leg of marriage. Those are the essential attribute of marriage. Anything else you can do with other people. Okay, he's giving you money. Well, that's not necessarily an attribute of marriage unless you see it in the context of consortium. Oh, we eat together. We always have lunch together. That's not necessarily attribute of marriage because he can have lunch even with a fellow man. So those 3 essential attributes of marriage, you will see immediately that if your husband can come and tell you to pack your bag and go and stay with your mother or your father, and you pack and leave, he has almost ended the 3 attributes of marriage. The marriage is over. You don't need to be told. Don't wait for DPA to tell you what's happening to you. And that is why, if you are a wise woman and that sort of thing happens, you should prepare for total and final battle. There's nothing else to save in the marriage. There's nothing else to save. There's no marriage to save. Because if you leave and go and live in your mother's house, all those 3 elements of marriage will be there. That means you are not cohabiting. 2, you are not having sexual intimacies. 3, there's no consortium. If you have headache in your mother's house, it is your mother that will give you medicine, it's not your husband. So, having explained these things, all these women who think that they're still in a marriage after your husband had told you to pack and go home, you are joking. You don't know what. The marriage is over. You don't have to be told that the marriage is over before you know. You don't have to be told. I don't have to tell you that the marriage is over. Look at what people do. Always look at what people do. Forget what they say. Be wise. From today onwards, be wise. Stop listening to what people say only. It is better and safer to look at what they do. What they do is what reflects their intention. People can lie to you, but they can't lie in their action. They can lie by word of mouth. Absolutely. So look at what your husband is doing. When you look at what he's doing, you're going to determine whether there's a marriage or not. For him to ask you to go to your father's house, there's no marriage. Nothing is left. Your husband wants to make sure you slept well. Your husband wants to make sure you're okay when you woke up in the morning. Your husband wants to make sure that you're okay when you went to bed in the night. But when a man says, go and pack and live in your mother's house, he's saying, I don't really care how you sleep. I don't care what happens to you in the night. I don't care what happens to you in the morning. So there's no marriage. You should understand it. But now, the main purpose of this talk is to tell you that no man has the right to tell his wife to leave the house. No man. Make no mistake about it. There is no exception. There is absolutely no exception. Because some people I know, some of the men here who are very poorly raised, very poorly brought, you tell her to pack and leave. So in that of Bielsa case, the man thought he was giving us until Tuesday. He didn't know I had written a letter to the DPO. Tuesday morning, he began to tell the wife, hey, I hope you people are going to be, you and your DPO people, I hope you are prepared to go. So he began to call me. I didn't want to answer his call. So he was restless. Come, let me take you to your father. Suddenly, the DPO called him and said, oh, God, come to the police station. When they came to the police station, they showed him my letter, showed him everything. And the police said, hey, read this letter. After he read it, the police pointed at the place where I said there are only two ways he can separate with his wife. He will either file judicial separation or divorce, or he will move out. Anything else is jungle justice. The DPO said that letter is right. You cannot throw your wife out. So the man was shaking. He said, so this DPA that was begging me, these people are very wicked. He hated DPA. So when he saw he could not move, he had already planned how the new woman will come in. In fact, the new woman would have come in that Sunday. He told her to wait until Wednesday, that the woman will now leave Tuesday. So when the police told him, hey, you're not going to do that, he was mad because his new woman was no longer coming. He didn't know what to do. He brought his sister to fight his wife. The police arrested his sister. When the man saw that this was too much for him, what did he do? He went and filed for divorce. And in his divorce paper, there's a place where you state what your wife did wrong. Remember, if you are divorcing somebody now, you have to show why. So when it came to that portion where they said, what did your wife do wrong? He said, my wife joined a secret society called DPA. So his wife's wrongdoing was for joining DPA. Can you imagine that? All right, I want you to get it right now. Men, please, please, please. Nobody tells you not to divorce your wife. Nobody tells you not to fall out of love. Nobody wants to stop you from having a girlfriend. Please, have your girlfriend. Fall out of love. But you must follow due process of the law, which is fair, just, and equitable. Do you understand it? That is it. It has to be just, it has to be equitable, it has to be fair.
Welcome back. You heard what the legal advisor of Mayor Edochie said. And one of the most important things in life is this. If you are properly informed, rightly informed, you will be properly and rightly transformed. But if you remain in the dark and you choose to remain in the dark, maybe you might choose, oh, this is how we used to do it. This is our culture. This is our culture. Culture or tradition or whatever that is practiced continuously in a particular section, unit, hamlet, village, town, country, or whatever, does not necessarily mean that it is acceptable. There are things that are not acceptable and can never be acceptable. Yes, you see some of the things that the legal advisor touched on. I know it's complex depending on the kind of marriage. There are different laws that are binding. Native law and customs, marriage. These are different marriage acts that are acceptable in Nigeria, for example, and in Africa. Countries that have their own culture. In some other clime, some go marry in church, some do the registry. In Nigeria, you can either do the registry or do the native law and customs. That's what they call the traditional marriage. If you do both, it's your choice. If you do one, it's still your choice. Now, there are people who opt for the native law and customs. They use this, men, to protect themselves in certain situation. While some, mostly women, often want to go for the registry. They want it to be binding. They want the law to be part of it. So should anything come up, they will have a say. Now, the legal team touched on a man having acquired a property, a house, and you come in to live as a woman. He has already worked hard, he has done all, and you come in to live. Let's say something happens in between. He wants to kick you out, like, hey, leave my house. This house belongs to me. It's a complex situation. There are times that women come into the life of a man to rob the man of all that he has worked for. Yes, you were not there all the years he had struggled, and but um this issue, I think men and women need to learn from it. It is your choice to pick or select a woman that has nothing financially. It is also your choice to look for a woman that can meet you up at least halfway financially, meaning you've already acquired, let's say, a house. Maybe you have your own car, good credit score, or you're a kind of person that does the cash down, you don't do loan, whatever. If you decide to meet a woman who is from the trenches or who has no cash but has something upstairs, like a good head on her shoulder, it's not always about money. What she has upstairs, if she can use it to grow your life, grow your business, and you know that this person has added 50% more value, 60 to my life, it is worth money too. Now, if you have problems, you can't just say, hey, leave my house. Depending on what kind of problem, maybe you feel hurt, like, oh, this woman, I found out, I caught her, she's doing my friend, or something like that. Or this man, it could be a woman too who has acquired all of these things and caught the man, oh, this man got Judy Austin pregnant and announced it on social media to want to disgrace me. And I'm the one that brought in 80%. The law is the law, regardless of your culture and tradition. Ignorance is, it's bliss. It's just there. A lot of people can be more ignorant. So some might be like, hey, leave my house, leave my children, go. It belongs to me. This house belongs to me. Oh, you can't do that. But if we have to look at this in view of the law, and like I said, it's also a choice. It's that both of you started together, struggled, worked hard to be where you are. You're both equal. At least within you, inside of your thought, you will know that this woman, both of us, like the case of Edochie and Mary, both of them hustled. Yes, Edochie too was hustling. We can't say all of those multiple movies that you have seen him or you got to know him through. He doesn't get paid. But the thing is where is he spending the money? Is he paying the tuition of his daughter? Those kids, they went to private schools. Or Edochie was using the money to enjoy in Nollywood, Asaba, spending it on, all these slim ladies and making them extra big with food, booze, all of that. Is that what he's doing? Well, like I said, it's your choice to select. If you want to select somebody that will meet you up, that matches to your own financial, what you have financially provided or acquired, your financial acquisition, what you have worked for, what you have, your financial establishment. If you want to look for a woman that matches that too, at least maybe 50%. So when the woman comes in, then she is adding this, bringing her own money in and out. But if you choose to be Odogu silencer or Odogu loud, and you now bring a woman, obviously, not all women, but many women, they are shaped and formed to come and enjoy. So if you have all of that provided for, and that woman comes into your life, and for one reason or the other, you decide to kick her out, you heard what the legal advisor said, that even if the person is a tenant, there are rules surrounding kicking a woman out of your property and saying, hey, this house belongs to me. I know in some cases, so we cannot give just one answer or opinion to it. There are different situations. If you are told about it, you'll be like, ah, yes, she should be kicked out. Like the example I gave, a man finding out the woman is doing friends of his, that kind of thing. And he had already worked hard, done all of that. Although the law is still applicable here, but still, people will be like, hey, what kind of woman is it? Hey, get out, get out, get out. Like how Edochie has been treated. Even though the case is in court and he's also fighting tooth and nail. But morally, the way he acted, human beings looked at it and said, no, this is below. This is below the belt. This is not right. This is evil. The way you acted, the way you have been acting, this is not acceptable. So that's what I'm trying to say. That for one thing, to get another woman, okay, you want to expand family. It's all right. It's your choice. Why do you want to expand your family? Have you made more money? Do you believe this is the best and right for you? Is it that your wife cannot contain you anymore? All of those things. So how do you go about it? Do you go about it recklessly? You don't go recklessly. If you do, you cannot maintain that polygamy. You can't even achieve it like Edochie. How can you achieve polygamy when polygamy is not gamming? The other woman said, no, I'm not interested. So that being said, so he has touched on a lot of things, and I don't want to keep repeating because he has made it clear. He has made it clear. And you cannot force a woman or force anybody into polygamy. It will not happen. You can't. Yes, there are circumstances that could compel a woman to accept certain thing, condition. Maybe she is not financially stable. Imagine if May was just housewife without any skill. That's why it's important for a woman not to accept when a man say, don't worry, learn no trade, do no business, don't do nothing, just stay in my house. There's a lot of money to be spent. The day trouble starts, even before the law comes into it to help you stabilize, you would have suffered a lot, because that kind of man will make sure that you don't have access to money so that you can bow to his whims and caprice. That's why you need to raise up your daughters. Don't let them lose that education that you spend money to give to them. Don't let them lose all of these things. Let them also stand on their feet to assist a man. You know how it feels if everybody has his or her own thing. You have yours, I have mine, we are adding value to each other. That's how it's supposed to be. Not, oh, stay like a disabled person because your husband is Odogu silencer. Your husband is, no. Let him have open a business, have a business, come up with your own ideas, not just to see. Don't be a consumer only. It's very important. Very important. Look at it. If May never had something doing, or she never had that, do you think when people come up with ideas, she'll be able to look at Judy Austin? Apart from the stupid role she says she's playing, look at her. She was giving, oh, go and promote this one. She cannot promote. She said, the weight loss pill. I was in the toilet all through the night. Is that how to promote? It shows that she has not built herself well. She has not built herself. She just remained in that, east, in that part of the east where she is, remained around the circle of non-entity, and she's not willing to also build herself. That's the difference. Imagine if you're Edochie and Judy Austin split apart. What do you think will happen? I don't know. Imagine Judy Austin and Edochie split now, totally, like finally, not this back and forth thing. What will happen? Well, she will gather all her children together now. She has 2 on that side, 2 here, and maybe some other ones we don't know. She will gather all of them together and start demanding from their fathers child support. Judy Austin. Anyway, what are your thoughts about this? Drop your comments. See you guys in the next update.